Hello, everybody. Hello. Hey, Darcy, how are
Good
you?
morning. Good morning,
Morning.
Joanna.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Awakened Positive Power, everybody. Here we get to talk to you, Darcy and myself get to talk to you regarding depression, mental awareness, and suicide prevention. We're here just to have a chat with you in regards to those things. We are here to support you, and just make us feel like we are not alone out there. Um, just a few things before we start. There is a disclaimer down below, so please make sure you check it out. And also don't forget to like, share, subscribe. It just helps the algorithms, I believe that's the word. It helps people get our conversation out to other people, which we think is really worthwhile. So just do us a favor. Do us a favor. Cheers, mate. Yeah, and I'm in a really weird mood. Darcy's in a weird mood. I'm in a weird mood. The planet's retrograde. There's fires in Arizona where I'm at right now. It's all kind of wow. So anyway, Darcy, hello, my love.
Hi, darling. I'm calling it the collective energy chaos.
Collective energy. The
Chaos.
CEC.
It's like the planets are shifting, the cosmic consciousness is shifting, our earth is moaning. There's just all this stuff going on, and for highly sensitive people, um, I think we feel it and we tap into all of that energy. It kind of attack, comes at us.
Darcy, you were talking before too, just before we got on, saying that there is a difference between big emotions and depression. So like there's maybe a fine line for some people, but yeah, like these big emotions, because collectively we're going on as you said, planetary. The word is that a word? Planetary.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah, don't worry about it.
planet.
Skip.
Sorry, guys. No, English 101. No.
Right over that.
With the planets, they're all in retrograde, and we're all feeling this. And people who aren't into planets and the power of them may not have any concept of what's going on and why we feel so like chaotic, as you said before. So I think that's a really good point to pick. So can you elaborate, Das? What do you mean by when you say big emotions versus depression? How different they are? Like what's that? Define that for me.
Well, this is just my little personal take on it. So, I do believe that there's a collective consciousness, so when governments are shifting or, society is shifting and changing its awareness, right now the United States is going through a big change in its awareness of who it is as a nation and what our values are and what our individual participation in our own government is and how do we create a society. I mean, these are enormous shifts right now. Understanding the truth of racism or understanding, the truth of being a woman and the Me Too movement and understanding, is our election process truthful and fair. All these things hit our identity as an individual. That's a collective consciousness. But I do believe the macrocosm is the microcosm and vice versa. You're a piece of that.
Yeah.
Individually, you are a part of it, whether you choose to physically participate or not. So there's just the societal upheaval and change. And then there's a global upheaval and change. Different countries are looking at their philosophy by who they're voting in office and what's the truth of that actual vote. Is it being stolen in certain countries? Is it being truthful? Are they, so there's a big change. And then there's this big planetary shift. that word today. Sorry. And I think, that's part of what is signaling this shift, right? So highly sensitive people have a tendency to feel, but then we also have our own family and our own personal dramas going on or traumas going on. And so everything kind of gets smooshed together, right? That's the beauty of meditation, is that you get your head clear, your mind, your thinking clear, so that you don't have to smush the global consciousness with your own personal stuff, right? You can kind of suss it out and let it go. But in terms of depression and emotions, I feel like when you are really sensitive, you feel emotionally what's going on, you know, and when you're having your personal traumas happen, your emotions are so on edge. And depression for me is the non-expression of those feelings. It's the non-expression. So if I think of emotions as energy, you know, it's emotional energy. Oh, that makes me mad. I'm mad, right? I got all this angry energy. I'm mad. Or, whoa, that is heartbreaking. I'm so sad. You know, that's emotional energy, right? So if we're not expressing that, where does it go? You know, it gets stuck in your muscles, right? Muscular memory gets stuck in your muscles, stuck in your body, right? And then we have these moments where it surfaces, right? So I had an accident a couple of years ago where I really broke my ankle, hurt myself. But my personal MO is to power through and do my healing, you know, I mean, go to, you know, physical therapy and get my stuff going. But I really never processed it emotionally. I mean, it upended my life. And I didn't realize I didn't process it emotionally until I had a discussion about it and I got really emotional about it. And I'm like, wow, I have really suppressed my feelings about that event. And so now it's time for me to really start expressing in a safe place, in a safe way, my feelings about what happened with my accident.
That's actually really interesting, Das. There's a parallel there too, like what I've been going through with my recovery too is I think I've suppressed my emotions because I just had to deal with my sobriety because of being in COVID isolation. We all of a sudden got locked in, and we didn't know. We all just naively got locked in, and I had no drugs. Whoops. And so, you know, I had to just do it. I have to just go do it. And yeah, I know, what a blessing. Everyone, what a blessing, what a gift. It was a universe gifting me a really tough opportunity to recover. But anyway, but so now I'm out of, now I've gone the sort of work of the chemicals out of my body. I realize I haven't really been facing my emotions attached to it. So now the triggers that have come up are profound because I'm going, I thought I did some work on that. And I'm going, I actually didn't. I actually worked the getting your ankle fixed. Yeah, get the physical side of it. Got the drugs out of my system and did what work I could to just keep going. But now I'm finding like I'm a born again recovery addict because I feel my emotions were not dealt with in the richest way, I guess. I don't really know how to.
Right. How to talk about it. So Jemima's having connection issues today on and off because of where she is in the desert and there's fires out there. So I'm going to keep talking when she freezes. So you froze. And dealing with this subject, and she's going to chat, she's going to type into the chat so that I can see her comments. So dealing with this idea of post-traumatic stress is what we're discussing, or the difference between depression and expression of feelings. Jemima and I have decided to bring in a doctor of psychology, and he was an acting student in New York when we were there. He was studying acting. His name is Luke Alexander Rex. He just got his licensing, and he specializes in depression. And so we're going to bring him in about 5 minutes or so. He's going to come in and start talking about depression. He specializes in depression, and especially for youth and how they experience it. So I really am looking forward to him. He's going to come in at 10 o'clock today, so we have another couple of minutes. But yeah, so my theory on the non-expression of our feelings is what is really kind of sticking us inside, right? That's why we create this post-traumatic stress, because we need to create a safe space to feel what we feel. We need to feel safe. We need to feel supported. And if we have big feelings one day, where does the individual go to, and how do they express it safely? Up, here she comes. She's coming back.
I'm sorry. Hello.
It's all right. That's all right. I was just expanding on. Hi.
Oh, hi.
I was just expanding on what you were saying, and I started to introduce Luke
Beautiful.
Alexander Rex,
Yay.
who's on his way in a couple of minutes. We have 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was saying, the idea is, whether it's post-traumatic stress, right? Or the suppression of feelings. I mean, feelings come up for all sorts of things. And it doesn't have to be a big, huge event. It can be just, especially if you're a teenager, which is what I want to hear from Luke about, how teens process their feelings. And I do believe for teens, it's kind of like a really loaded thing, because you have your family dynamic, you have your social situation that you're trying to navigate, and you have your hormones that are just like going through the roof. And those three, any one of those things is plenty to deal with, but put all three of those things together. And I think it's so overwhelming for teenagers to not just learn how to find their individuality in a family setting and deal with whatever the family is dealing with, but then to understand how to deal in society, which is what school is about, and high school, and finding yourself in there. And then your hormones, which ebb and flow and do affect your emotions. And I don't care if you're a boy or a girl, it does affect you.
They completely affect you.
Right. So, teens get those double whammies. And then as adults, I think we find the patterns that we set up for ourselves when we were teens emotionally is oftentimes what we're dealing with as adults. So whether we dismiss them as teens, or we're not validated as teens, and then if we never got to express them safely or appreciate our feelings, then how we do that as an adult, it's already set up for us, and we have to relearn understanding our feelings. So that's my big theory, relearning how to understand your feelings.
That's a big one. Guys, if I keep disappearing, my access sucks. So it's gonna have to be the way it is.
It is the way it is.
It makes me depressed. Like I feel emotional now. I feel like crying.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating. And it's like, as much as I love that we have this ability to communicate like this, it's frustrating when we rely on it. It's like,
yeah, because we're social creatures. And so being isolated and separated, and then you get this kind of taste of being together, and it goes, I know, it's really frustrating. And go with the flow, doll, go with the flow. Yeah. If it makes you upset, it makes you upset. Is Luke
I'm like a little baby going, I don't want it, I want to play too. It's funny, like I'm so emotional. And that's true, guys. I mean, as we all are, as we're talking about the collective energy, like it is emotional right now. I feel like anything triggers me. I'm like, and I'm going through my own stuff, as we know, but it's just funny how on top of that, collectively, I know probably most of you can relate, go, yeah, that stupid computer. And it's not just your computer, sorry, computer. But you know what I mean? It's like just this crazy, overwhelming, emotional reality we're living in, which I think is beautiful, because it's about time we started to get back in touch with our emotions, or not even back in touch, but in touch as a collective, because we need to be humane again. Like, look what we've done. Look what we've done to the world, and now we have to come back together, emotionally connected, supporting each other with our emotions and our love and our fire and our anger and whatever it may be. Every single emotion, we need to be reconnected with each other with that foundation, rather than it be about everything outside ourselves. That's my So we're kind of waiting. The reason we're sort of like dilly-dallying around a conversation is because we're waiting for Luke, guys. He's coming on at 10. So we really don't want to start a conversation until he comes in, because that's going to be kind of weird. And Darcy, did you say where we met him from? We've known him, over 20 years too. Woo! I know. Darcy, please, how you talking?
Well, he was a student in New York at the acting school, and so coming through. It's so fun that's the best thing about the internet, is you get to reconnect with people you haven't seen or spoken to in years, and everybody's done such a beautiful development on themselves, come into themselves and have something to contribute. So yeah, it's nice to see that here was this actor, this student who went into psychology and is dealing with the thing that we are dealing with right now, is talking about depression so much. So that's really kind of a fun thing. So hopefully he'll show
There
up.
he is. Yay! Hello. Hello, Luke.
Yeah, connecting to audio.
Oh, really? Oh. How come you have that saying?
I think we need like a soundtrack for connecting.
No, that's a bad. Hey! Yay!
Hi, Jemima. Hi, Darcy.
Hi, Luke. How are you?
Good. I was dreaming about spaghetti last night.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh! Yeah, great. That's a long story, everyone. Long story. We'll get to that.
I missed it.
Well, that's where we met, right?
Yeah.
I think that was your directorial debut in New York.
My directorial debut. Yep,
Oh.
sure. Yeah. How wonderful. What
Yeah.
a great memory you have. I guess you can't really forget that one.
Well, it was significant. I remember just being in the theater and going, wow, this is fantastic. And I think it was from a dream you had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Welcome, Luke. So good
Thanks
to see
for having
you.
me.
We've all got our coffee. Everyone got their tea, coffee? I don't drink coffee. What, tea? Tea? Water? Yes.
My yogi tea, yes.
Yeah, it's me too. That's all I drink is yogi tea. Do you stick up all the little things, the little quotes? What's your quote today? I can't see it.
Lift people up to their potential and higher self.
Ah, beautiful.
Yay.
Everyone, lift people up to their highest potential. Beautiful. I love it. I love it.
We'll have a little dance party
Yes,
now.
I do keep them in a trophy. I have about 200 of them.
Really?
Are you
Yes.
serious?
Yeah. Oh, he's going to get it. He's going to prove it.
That's awesome.
Awesome. I used to, I stick mine up in New Mexico all over the wall, but now that's gone. But oh well.
That's all right.
Oh, cool. That's so cool.
Oh my gosh. And so that when you need a inspiration, you just stick
Yeah.
it and pull
Like
one
if
out.
friends come over, I'll say, grab one out of the jar.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Great idea. That is a
So
cool
Luke,
idea.
we brought you here today. As you know, we're doing this Awaken Positive Powers in regards to depression, mental awareness, and suicide prevention. And we met you in both, Darcy and I met you in New York at acting school. And we're both interested to see and hear you're a psychologist. Is that correct? Congratulations.
I'm route to become a psychologist. I just finished my academic studies.
Oh, congratulations.
And so now I'm getting ready for internship, and then there's a lot of hoops to go through, but there'll be another year postdoc, so to speak. And then at that point, I can take the licensing exam. So I'm a couple of years out from being a psychologist. Yeah.
Congratulations, though, on your
You.
Thanks.
What inspired you to take this route?
Actually, my acting career. So as like we all know as actors, it's difficult to forge a career. So having something to fall back on, I think, was really important for me. But I never did want to have anything to fall back on outside of, the bar jobs and so forth. But it was actually through teaching acting in Australia and also in Los Angeles, where I just saw predominantly with teenagers, I just saw a huge impact on the growth in teens over the course of a semester. And I thought this is really interesting how it's not really studied by all psychologists or all psychotherapists, although there are modalities to intervene for, mental health issues using drama techniques, but it's not like a common, it's more of a, specialization. So,
yeah.
But I just saw it before my eyes, to seeing teenagers getting better and better and more confident and less self-conscious and increases in self-esteem. So I just got to a point in LA where I was saying to myself, okay, I can go back to school and get my undergrad because I hadn't had that completed. Or I can just keep pursuing the acting. And I just knew though down the road, 5 years could go by and I could still be in the same position with my acting. So I just decided to take the more concrete path. And, I still keep the Kindles or the fires alive with the acting, but that's really what set me off on the psychology road. And it's been 9 years straight since I went back to school. I'm still at it.
Wow, good for you.
Thanks.
I think that's really noble. I mean, honestly, does the world need another actor, or does the world need another sensitive individual who's really going to understand human development? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
and the acting's helped a lot. I do a lot of intervention with groups, with teenagers and adults, people in recovery, substance abuse. I work as a group facilitator, and I just use a lot of the acting exercises, some from Strasbourg that I learned, to help people both connect to themselves and then connect to others in the group. So it's been an invaluable, I think it's a fantastic art too, and very misunderstood as well, because a lot of people see acting as, oh, you're pretending and all this, but I'm just kind of more looking at the core exercises, whether it's just staring, or making eye contact for 2 minutes with another group member opposite them in a chair and just kind of talking about that experience. So a lot of connection work.
And what you're saying,
that's a really,
sorry. Oh, okay. You're saying you're working with, let me put up my screen off because I've got bad internet access. Okay, so is that better, guys?
We can hear you.
Yep.
Okay,
yes.
Luke, you said you were working with teens, and how do you work with their depression, or how do you work with, what sort of techniques do you give them to help them move through their depression?
So I'll answer that question by saying, so the work that I do, because I'm not a licensed psychologist, so I do independent contractor work for organizations as a group facilitator. So I'm not directly addressing any mental health issues with the clients as such. They'll do that work with their therapists at the intensive outpatients or the residential treatment centers. But I think I kind of get the gist of your question. Like I can share with you, for example, so the American Psychological Association have put together treatments for depression for both children, teens, and adults. And so what we know from working with adolescents, for example, there's a couple of different interventions which, according to research, are having the well-established effects, and that's cognitive behavior therapy and also interpersonal psychotherapy, which is what my dissertation is going to be on. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested in the interpersonal angle. CBT's very well researched, but I want to say there are a lot of other interventions out there that are could be effective, but they're not well established because they haven't got the backing or the money behind them. For example, just throwing things out there, like gardening could be a wonderful form of behavioral activation for some clients. It's just not thoroughly studied, right? Pet therapy, that sort of stuff. We're seeing really, really good interventions right now with psychedelics, actually. Psychedelic assisted therapy, which might seem to some people hearing this quite a risque sort of approach, but it's very, very well controlled environment. But we're seeing great advances with reduction in cessation of addiction, cigarette smoking, depression, anxiety, PTSD from one session. 6 months later, no symptoms of depression or not meeting criteria for depressive disorders. So that's going to be have a huge impact on the field in the next 10 years, I think.
I will agree with that, Luke. I've done some psychedelic therapy as a client.
And wow.
I'm a addict, so an ex-addict, I should say. I was a functioning addict.
Right.
But now I say that one session had brought me through way more than 10 years therapy that I thought, and I've been in therapy as a child too with depression. So I know the difference of what was achieved through my emotional development, and one session boomed me 10 years ahead and allowed me to discover things about myself that I don't know how I would have even got there, or even how the doctor or the therapist would have asked questions for me to open up into that category of awareness. So it is the subject because it is psychedelics. But
to be clear, it's not like someone saying, okay, Jemima, here's an MDMA tablet, go have a great week and come back next week. It takes 6 or 7 hours with the therapist, and I think they give you an eye mask and music. Is that what they do?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, and it's really, really, I have to say, it's really similar to the restorative hypnotherapy work that I do, the deep trance work. So I do this deep trance restorative hypnotherapy that was created by a colleague and a friend of mine named Lisa Hubler at Mind Matters Hypnotherapy in LA. And the whole premise behind the idea of restorative hypnosis is that you get them into such a completely deep trance. So we're talking like 55 minutes of deep trance where you can let go of the physical tension and the mental tension, the loop thinking, the cognitive thought that gets scrambled, so that you can talk to the subconscious and let the person find their balance come back. And it's remarkable. People come in and they're very clouded looking. They have that look to them. They're really stressed, and you do this 55 minutes. And then afterwards they come out, their eyes are bright.
Yeah.
And they're like, wow, I feel like I had a 10-hour sleep. Wow. But as opposed to sleep, which you can still be in your loop in sleep. You go to sleep tense and you wake up tense, or you go to sleep tense and you feel that you didn't sleep at all.
Yeah.
The idea with the restorative hypnosis is that it takes the conscious thought out of the loop for a minute.
Right.
Or for 55 minutes rather. And then the whole idea of restorative is that we put you in a restorative posture, yoga posture.
Right.
You start slightly elevated, eye pillow, headphones, music playing, and we take them slowly through this relaxation process.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's remarkable. I'm happy to give you a session anytime if you want to experience it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That sounds amazing.
Darcy, you don't ask everybody on YouTube. You just tell that to
I'll give it to
a free session.
Yeah. I think what's really interesting and exciting about the psychology field is that it's kind of doing a full loop, at least like in the last 50 years. So there's a wonderful gentleman who sadly passed last year, formerly known as Dr. Richard Alpert, who became Baba Ram Dass.
Oh yeah.
And so, his whole journey from a Harvard professor and, the rational cognitive way of thinking about things and research and quantitative studies and randomized controlled trials. And he said it quite astutely that if we knew it all and we could teach it all, how come we weren't any better off as individuals? How come I could look at my colleagues and say, hey, they just have as much neurosis as I do? So there's something about, his journey away from or at least balancing his intuitive heart and his intuitive mind away from this kind of cognitive, rigid way of looking at things, which is what the West has done. And there's a lot of great points to be made about that. We've made advances, but I think the balance is now coming where we're drawing from the studies of the East and meditation and mindfulness, hypnosis, psychedelic assisted therapy, and going more into the intuitive space where I think we'll come up with some really, really interesting results.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was talking also a little bit prior to when Jemima sometimes loses connection and you weren't on yet. I was also saying, like teens have like a triple threat, triple whammy. They've got their home environment. Yeah. They've got to find their individuality in the home environment, within the family structure. They've got to find out who they are. Then they have the social pressures. They've got to do that same process out in school and in the world around them. They've got to be able to put themselves forward. And then they have all the hormone fluxes, which also really affects the emotional life. And I mean, whether you're a male or female, it's really like, it's such a big, huge effect. Mm-hmm. So they have this like triple threat going on that's compounding everything as they try to discover who they are. And then they have to put their academics on top of that. So creating a safe space for our teens to be able to process their feelings. Right. So that the feelings don't get suppressed, depressed, or ignored, and then later come out as behavior
Right.
you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the teen groups I run are very challenging at times, extremely challenging at times, always rewarding. But yes, there's a lot of dysregulation in the groups and a lot of crosstalk and a lot of, acting out.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I think part of that process is creating a space in the group where it is safe to talk about your feelings and not feel judged. And I have a humanistic approach to the work from like Carl Rogers and these great American psychologists and kind of stem down from Maslow and even Aldous Huxley, and just kind of a way of looking at life where we can approach people from a non-judgmental stance and be supportive and offer that unconditional regard, positive regard.
Have you suffered from depression yourself?
I think I've had experiences of depression. Whether or not I would have been given a formal diagnosis of a major depressive disorder, I never undertook therapy as a teen, but I did struggle in my teens with feelings of low self-worth around sort of 14 through 16, 15, 16, 17, around that sort of age.
Yeah.
And it was due to social pressures, actually. And it's interesting because I think now, as I was talking to my sister recently, I think there's a lot more social pressures on teens today because of social media. And we're seeing a correlation, if not causation, although they use it tentatively, between social media, increased advent of the iPhone, and depression. And depression rates have been going up since 2006.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost Jemima.
She'll come back.
Okay. Yeah, they've actually been going up. They were going down. They were improving, but they've been increasing with teenagers. And there's a fourfold difference between females and males at teenagers, which is alarming.
With females having the larger, being the larger group of depression.
Yep.
Yeah, I would think that would be the case. I would really think that would be the case. I used to teach acting classes at a school in San Francisco, and it was really like scripted how they wanted us to teach it. It was like a 10-week program, and you had modules, and you had to do it at XYZ, and it was very much, commercially focused. It was not an artistic situation. And the concept there was to give the students a taste of what being an actor was about, and to turn them into professionals in 10 weeks. Okay. Right. So it was absolutely the antithesis of the work that I do as an acting teacher. It was like totally, I'm like, what am I doing here? But what I started to discover is that those 10 weeks were allowing me to really focus on self-esteem.
Right.
Because I would get these students in, with these, literally buried in their sweatshirts, with their hands up inside their sleeves, and I'd say, can you say your name, stand up? And they would, everything was attitude or hiding or, this whole routine. But by the end of the 10 weeks, I could get them to really appreciate who they are, embrace their own style.
That's right.
Really, I used to challenge them, say, okay, you can't come back wearing Uggs, flip-flops, or jeans, because everybody can wear that. So I want you to go out and really look at, and you don't have to spend a lot of money. Go to thrift stores, go to, I don't care where, but find out what can you wear that's a reflection of things that you like, that has nothing to do with, trends. And it was a big deal. And to really encourage them to say, yeah, that's a beautiful look, or yeah, that you're, on the right track. How do you feel? Do you feel encouraged in those clothing? And then to get them to stand still and say their name and be really present, and then I could still follow the modules, but then I could throw in that.
That's great.
That exchange, the repetition work from Sanford and Meisner, I could throw in where, you're opposite each other, and repeating. And just the 10 weeks was amazing.
Right.
And I would get texts from these kids saying, I aced my math test, or,
It sort of extends itself into other settings for sure.
It does. You know, once you get self-confident, just being in the space, holding your own in space, and
Yeah.
standing opposite another human being and realizing that you're not going to die, right? That fear of death, you're not going to feel bad about yourself. No one's going to make fun of you. And if they do,
Yeah.
who cares? You're stronger than that.
Yeah, there's something to be said about self-confidence, isn't there? I've done a lot of work with people with social anxiety, and so improv is very challenging. But I would say within 4 to 6 weeks, those teens who are struggling in the first group with social anxiety become the best improvisers, and they become the most adventurous and the loudest in the group.
You know why? I bet.
Why?
Because the part of the social anxiety is the imagination, the cognitive thought process, the going, oh my God, they're looking at me. Oh my God, this is going on, right?
Fear of judgment of others. That's right.
Yeah. And then all that self-talk, that chatter in the in the brain that's going on, it creates that physical tension. It creates that anxiety. So improv is a way of letting all that voice go and letting all those ideas.
Right.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, well, they begin this. Jemima was saying it's hard to trust your imagination in improv because you can't control the through line. You haven't memorized lines. It really is, here's my offer, one sentence, yes, and agree to it. Then your partner's going to take it up. And so that constant reciprocal giving and receiving. And then over time, I think they begin to trust themselves more that it's going to be okay. Like you said, Darcy, they're not going to die. And so they start to realize, hey, I can do this. And then it's like just a form of exposure, sort of therapy for them.
Yeah, it is. You know, if you have somebody who's really encouraging. Jemima writes in the chat, I always hated improv. She says it was too raw.
Yeah.
And absolutely, because it asks you to just truly be yourself, to be and to be really present. And so to move through that is, I think it's really empowering.
Yeah. Can I just say, can you hear me, guys? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can.
Like with the improv, it's kind of crazy how like nervous I used to get because it's just relating to people. Like, you know what I mean? Like improv is what we do every day with each other. That's
Sure.
what we communicate. So it's kind of funny how it seems so like such a nervous thing to have no script or anything. You have to use your natural, I don't know, awareness just to interact with people. Why is that so freaking nerve-wracking when you get up there and it's like, oh,
because people are watching, and if you have social anxiety, that person's thinking they don't like me, I look about my body weight or a pimple or whatever it might be. The fear of being constantly judged by others is predominant in the mind.
And that's what we've got to shift, isn't it, guys? Like, I mean, we've got to start within rather without these days. Like, we've got to go back into ourselves to find that confidence, so we stop looking for everyone else to be accepted. And you know, that's where all that nervousness and fear of interacting and all that sort of stuff comes in. Fear of judgment, like it's
and with self-judgment, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of a long answer to what interventions or what can be done. It's certainly that I've seen at my end with teens who are struggling with depression. But I mean, basic skills as listening is helpful. Being non-judgmental, offering empathy. Those things seem like a very, like how would that help? But it actually does. I mean, that's the core of therapy, really, is just that unconditional positive regard, non-judgmental environment, accurate empathy, and just listening. Doesn't mean agreeing all the time. You can pick up on incongruence with a person, but those three things, like I felt like an imposter when I started my first few sessions with individual clients, whether they were struggling with depression or anxiety or panic attacks or whatever. But I had great clinical supervisors who just said, just focus on those three things in your training. And, it's really helpful. I mean, how often do people have a conversation with another person where the other person is not there to give them advice, is not there to agree with them, is not there to tell them what to do? It's a very unique relationship. So those three things are really powerful ways of interacting with teens or anyone struggling with depression or whatever the case might be.
You know what? Can I just make an observation?
Yeah.
One of the most effective acting techniques that I ever worked on with people was getting them to put all of their attention on the other person.
Yeah.
And to stop thinking about themselves in the scene.
Right.
You know, to really start to understand what it means to actively listen to the other person. You listen to them emotionally, you listen to them visually.
Yes.
You put yourself in the moment, and then of course you add all the acting stuff. Is, are you getting what you want from that person?
Sure.
Are you getting what your needs met
Yeah.
from the person?
Yeah.
But really what you're talking about is really similar in that
Absolutely.
taking all of that self-conscious attention. You know, if I stand up for public speaking and I'm all worried about my hair and people are going to laugh at me, or, you know, I'm this or I'm that, and my judgments of myself, I'm not thinking about my audience, or I'm not thinking about why I'm here today and what I'm doing. You know, I'm too self-focused, but to focus outward on the other. And that also ends up creating empathy.
Yes.
You know, as I look at you and I see you're really thinking right now, and I can see that you're, you know, agreeing with me that on a visceral level.
Yeah.
And I can see how you're really putting your life experiences to this conversation, right? I can see your memories going past you, you know, and it turns me into an empathetic individual. And that in turn can validate my own feelings.
But can I ask something? That's kind of like a I don't know. It's like looking within and then looking without. Like we were just talking about, we've got to start to look within more. Like that's taking it out. And I understand in terms of acting technique, you need to make sure you're connecting to the other person. You need to, what are you getting from them? How are you going to get it? Are you getting it? But then isn't it, we're coming back to the working with ourselves. We have to bring it back into ourselves to work with depression. So we can't be looking out for that external gratification or acceptance. We need to be coming within. So I don't know, I'm confused there.
I put it within the context looking outward. If your best friend opposite you was saying, I'm really struggling with my depression right now, and they're just wanting to talk to somebody, that would be a moment where, so Jemima, let's say you came up to me and you said, oh my God, Luke, I'm just feeling so depressed. And often the question is, well, what can I do for someone in that situation? So at my end, I wouldn't want to go within. No. In that moment, if you're saying that to me, I would want to come outward, which is similar to what Darcy was saying, like with the first half of that acting training of full attention on the other person, not, you know, or I should say but full attention on the other person, actively listening, just really being there in the moment for them. Because I think so much as like within our friendship dynamics, people are trying to like just solve the problem straight away. I'm sure you've seen that great video with Brene Brown and the animation about empathy. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen it.
No,
I'd recommend watching it because it's the difference between sympathy and empathy. So a really quick snapshot view. It's really nice animation. And the sympathy version is, you know, someone's down in a dark cave and they're sort of looking up and there's a light and this little moose sticks its head down and go, what's the matter, you know? And the person says, oh, you know, I got a divorce. And, you know, sympathy is like, well, at least you have kids, you know, it's always trying to solve the problem, put a silver lining, everything. But the empathy, and it's really done beautifully in the animation. It's quite moving, actually. It always brings a little tear to my eye. But the idea of just, and this is what really is that part of therapy that the psychologists are trying to work on, is I just want to be in your shoes and really feel what it's like to be you. And if I can, you know, and if I can't relate, I can use my imagination to a degree, but it's not about trying to solve your problem, but just saying, oh, this sounds really difficult, you know, and I'm here for you. Like, it's simple as that. So I think, Joanne, to answer your question, it's not about we should never go inward. I think that's important. We should go inward. So when we're self-reflecting, you know, especially on our own.
Yeah.
And when you're thinking about your own mental health, and it's useful to self-reflect for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really a beautiful way to put it, the difference between sympathy and empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
It's,
great video. It's like a 3-minute piece, and it just
Could
really.
you say who did the video again, Luke?
Yeah, I'll put it in the. It's Brené Brown,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
Brené Brown has a, and I apologize if I think she has a PhD in social work,
Mm-hmm.
and she gives a lot of TEDx talks and so forth.
Right.
And there's a Brené. Yeah, she's wonderful. It's Brené, Brene, with like a accent on the E, and Brown.
Right. Okay.
And if you just type in Brené Brown and empathy or sympathy, you'll see the video. It's a really wonderful way of comparing the two.
Super.
Oh,
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
great.
But yeah, it's definitely important to go inward.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. You know, I'm so grateful that you came today and talked to us.
Awesome.
Oh, it's great to be here. I'm enjoying talking to you too.
Isn't that fun? I know it's really,
Yeah.
it's such a,
Hours.
I remember, Darcy, you said something talking about my memory, because I took camera class with you in the summer of 1999. And I remember, you would come in and you'd say, today, this week, I'm on a kick for this. And you said, everything stems from love. You're angry, comes from love. You're upset, it could be a lack of love, but it's true. I've always remembered that.
It's very true.
yeah, wow, I'm so cool. I'm so glad that you remembered that. I actually got a lot of that from a previous teacher who taught me. He goes that the motivation behind doing things, if you make it more important and base it on love, loss of love, lack of love, looking for love, right? Love of money, love of power, etc. The motivation becomes stronger. And again, the parallel to life outside of theater is that it is all about love.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, it's all about love. Really learning to love yourself. To truly love yourself means you stop judging yourself, or you appreciate yourself. I mean, we always have to work to try not to judge ourselves.
Yeah.
It's a constant, oh, I'm 60, I look older, or, oh, I didn't do that project right, or, we always are judging. But if I really, really love myself, I can say, okay, that's okay. What did you learn from this? Or where can we go for now?
Yeah.
Where's our next step? So for me, just doing the restorative hypnosis that I do, or the spiritual counseling, I really focus on self-love, because when we love ourselves, we are more compassionate, empathetic human beings, right? And we're more, we have the greater possibility of taking care of the world around us.
How does one do that, though, if one is struggling with loving themselves completely?
Right. How does one find self-love?
Yeah.
You start small. You start impossibly low, the lowest bar. You say, what's one thing you can do today that will be doing something kind to yourself? Just one thing that you can, what is one small act of kindness you can give to yourself today? And you slowly build it up. You just slowly build it up. Our language, just our language, promotes self-judgment. We talked about this in one of our other chats, Jemima and I. Oh, what a dummy I am.
Right.
Oh, how foolish is that? Our language. So just taking a day to look at your language from a place of self-love and kindness. Let's just start small, Okay, our friend who came in last week, she said instead of berating herself every day, like, oh, how can you be so stupid to make that mistake?
Yeah.
She's now making it funny. She calls herself a silly Billy. She goes, oh, you silly Billy, look what you did. Oh, you silly Billy. So that's I would call that a first step.
So kind of actually noticing that it's actually taking place and kind of like catching it.
Yes. So now she's catching it with humor. Oh, you silly Billy. Oh, you silly Billy. Eventually, she will get to a place where she doesn't even have to chide herself. It's just, oh, that didn't work. I got to fix the way I do that.
Right.
Oh, that's not working. And then that's when you start moving into a place of true self-love, where you're, okay, I made a mistake here. How can I fix this? Hey, I fixed it. Or, it's not fixable. I'm going to have to walk away from that. Okay, I have a lot of strength in myself that I can walk away without having to fix everything. So finding your self-love is that sense of personal power, keeping yourself on your values, on your path, and not diminishing yourself for every little transgression or every little problem, every little, like you said, pimple, or clothes that don't fit right. But you have to start small, really small, because you have to retrain yourself.
Like the inner critic that the actors work on, that Stanislavski talked about. Sometimes it's a comparison, I think.
Yeah, exactly. That is very, very good. That's a great parallel right there. We all have that inner critic, and it's a difference between good critical thinking and criticizing oneself.
Sure.
That's a big difference. So
Yes.
yeah, and I think that's how we take our step to self-love. So all of us can practice this today. We can all do one act of kindness for ourselves today. Something that says, I'm going to, instead of me giving a gift to somebody else, what's a small gift I can give myself? Maybe I give myself a moment of quiet, or maybe I'll give myself a cup of tea. I try not to reward myself with food.
Right.
Maybe I can go for an extra walk today, right? Maybe I can clean an area of my desk, right? That shows that I care about the work that I'm doing. Maybe I can take out the junk out of my closet that I've been meaning to get rid of and I never do. That's an act of self-love. Taking that junk out of my closet means I'm getting rid of stale energy that doesn't serve me anymore.
Right.
So recognizing those just one little thing that you're doing, and recognizing your language today.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Some of those menial tasks. I remember Dan Grimaldi used to talk about, not feeling good, do the wash. That's true. You do a little washing, you tend to feel pretty good. It's a behavioral activation, nice clean clothes ready for the week. You've got underwear and everything. It's good.
That's right. Or you were talking about planting.
Yeah,
gardening.
Oh, I love being out in the garden.
Right? I mean, that's like that's a soul revival right there, You're really putting your hands in the dirt and seeing something grow. It's a beautiful act. And then if you do that mindfully, which is the big word right now, mindful, or if you be really present with the fact that you're actually helping something live and grow, is an act of love. It is absolutely an act of love. So yeah, love is underneath absolutely everything. Every time I do a 55-minute hypnosis, I end with Louise Hay's prayer. It's called Loving Treatment. Her loving treatment. I end with that after every single hypnosis that I do, because it just summarizes what we're working on.
Right. Wonderful.
Letting it come to the surface. So
guys, on that note,
time to go.
I love you. Darcy, you going to do a meditation for us today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you mind? It was one of the best things to do at the end of this.
The gift to ourselves right now.
Yeah, let's give to ourselves right now. That's a great way to say it.
Firstly, Luke, thank you so much for coming. It was
thanks for having me, Jemima and Darcy. It's great to talk to you both and appreciate it.
We'd love to have you back again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you come up with some ideas that you want to talk about, or something that you've experienced, we would love to have you come back and chat with us. Okay.
Sure. I became a Reiki master a couple of years ago. I don't know if you've ever talked about Reiki, so that could be something we could talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that. Do you have your Reiki crystals with you?
I do. This was given to me by my Reiki master, actually, this one here.
Oh, very nice.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
So I keep it up there.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just do a nice, easy, simple little meditation. Sit nice and relaxed with your feet on the ground if you're sitting, uncrossing your legs, uncrossing your hands. If you're lying down, go ahead and lie down. See if you can put some pillows under your legs to put your legs up just slightly. And for just a moment, let's take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Really fill up the body with breath and hold for a beat. And exhale through the mouth, long and slow. And breathe easy. And again, inhale really full through the nose. Let the body fill way up. And hold for a beat. And exhale through the mouth, long and slow. And breathe easy. Just feeling how the body naturally breathes after that exhale. And let's do that one more time. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Really let your body fill way up. And hold on to it for just a moment. Holding it. And release it through the mouth. Long and slow. Life is all about the exhale. Letting go. So your body can breathe back in again. Easily and effortlessly. In and out. The body knows exactly what to do. And for just a moment, let's tap into our senses. Feeling our body sitting in the chair. Feeling your clothes on your body. What's tight, what's loose. What's scratchy, what's soft. Feeling your hair on your head or your face. Feeling your jewelry. Feeling the chair beneath you. Feeling your feet on the ground. Feeling the temperature of the room on your exposed skin. The temperature of the room on your clothing. Just feeling that energy around your body, outside your body, inside your body. Noticing your heart beating. Maybe your stomach growling. And now let yourself put your attention to your sense of hearing. Just letting the sounds come and go, the way the breath comes and goes. Sounds are just sounds. It just means that the world is continuing to turn and that life is happening around us, with us. Sounds come and go, the way the breath comes and goes, the way thoughts come and go. The thoughts come in and go out. Ideas, memories, thoughts, just thoughts, allowing them to come and go the way sounds come and go. And just let yourself rotate your awareness between the touch of your body, thoughts that float in and out, breath that comes and goes, and sounds that come and go. Letting the world just revolve around you. Appreciating this moment, being here in this moment. Knowing that this moment is a gift. You are a gift for me, and I am a gift for you. And we'll take just a moment of quiet. And in this quiet, I want you to tell yourself one small thing that you appreciate about yourself. One small thing. One small thing. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you, Darcy.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Luke, for coming today.
Thanks for organizing this. It was wonderful. Have a great day.
Yeah, I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah.
Bye, Luke.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Take it easy. Bye. Hang on. We're still recording.